All right, so Record of Ragnarok chapter 104. We have the translations. I waited a little bit longer because I was waiting for a little bit more accurate of a translation. So the first thing we see is, of course, the clones of Hercules, Odin, and Thor, obviously Loki's ability, dissipating and basically disappearing. It says the Jester's power, his copies disappear completely. It's weird because there's a few of them that are still standing, yet they still disappear for whatever reason. And then we basically see the body of Loki that was shot, right? So we saw Loki get shot 2 chapters back, but then of course we got confirmation last chapter at the end of it that the real Loki survived. So this was a copy that was shot. It's not faded away yet, but the ring is still on his finger. This is the real ring, by the way, and there is mist coming off of the ring. So effectively, the clone was wearing the ring. And I'd assume that that's why even the clones that weren't directly shot are disappearing, because they probably disappear when the user dies or he himself disappears. So since the clone activated them, they would disappear with him. Heimdall yells, "Loki, shot in the head by Simo, is down. He was completely silenced. The army of copies created by the ring also vanished like mist. Could it be the end of round 11? The crowd is responding here. We see the humans first say, "Astonishing power. He pierced right through the shield and his head. That's to be expected from our man Simo," says another. We then see the god side with Forseti. As some of them say, "Are you kidding me? To think Lord Loki would be dominated in such a one-sided manner?" So they believe he's done. Simo still has his sights on Loki's corpse. Has not moved at all. Absolute vigilance here. Great panel, by the way. But then, of course, we see the real Loki behind Simo, who Simo does not notice. Loki is not jumping right out, though, as the last chapter implied at the end. He's waiting and biding his time. It also looks like he's pulling out those scythe blades from his palm that we saw in the garden fight, but not in the same way. There's no chains on him. It's just the scythe blade by itself. He's looking at Simo, and Simo's menacing, man. No words. He's just looking off the cliff at his target. And Loki's trying to come up with a way to take Simo out. He says, "This is my chance," but he knows he can't just jump after Simo because he'll be shot, right? So then it says Loki's corpse wasn't the real Loki. Obviously, we already know that. Rewinding time immediately to the moment right after the start of the match, as we get a little flashback that shows us how we got to this point, how Loki, the real body, maneuvered his way to this position. After those 3 gods created by Loki began to advance towards Simo, Loki did this. Inside the darkness that covered the town when he made all those clones, he was able to hide away. The crowd was all saying, "Oh wow, there's a dark mist, it's covering the whole village, they can't see anything," and Simo seemingly couldn't see anything either. What he created in this time was the clone we saw that just got shot. This technique is called False God's Shadow, and there's a Norse name that's with it, but I don't know how to say it. "A duplicate of himself," says the narrator. Loki then says, "All right then, I'll leave the rest to you," and he throws the Jester's ring to the clone. The clone catches it, says okay, and says the rest will go just as planned. The real Loki says right. We then see, some panels of like what we saw from Loki a couple chapters back. That was all the clone. And the narrator says that's right, ever since he vanished into the mist, immediately after the match began, the real Loki had been hiding himself within the field, never once showing his true form to Simo. No, not just Simo, not even the spectators saw him. He handed over commands to his own clone, and he made his clone fight Simo for him. In other words, the one who died was a copied fake. So everything we saw was the clone's doing. The real Loki has not engaged in the fight whatsoever. Loki's technique contains 3 abilities that have been kept secret from everyone else, on top of the 2 that we already learned about. Now, of course, we know that these 2 abilities are he can input anything he touches and memorize it into his palm, and then it generates the output. He can recreate what he's stored. Now, one of these 3 abilities is called the False God Shadow, which we just saw, which allows him to create a single clone with power equal to himself. So this clone is in fact as strong as Loki. And the second power is an ability to connect his own consciousness with the copies he created and share their vision. It does not specify any limit here, and we see that he is doing this with multiple clones, the rabbit and each of the god clones at bare minimum. He also looks pretty freaky when he does this, as it's called Peephole of the 9 Realms. He looks like an alien. We covered this in the spoilers though. The third ability, and perhaps the most important, is the ability to transform the connected copy into a gateway and then teleport himself through it. This is called the Gate of Rebirth. Again, all these have Norse names. Making use of the 3 hidden abilities together, he was hoping this would allow him to safely and assuredly kill Simo without actually taking any damage himself. That was actually the reason why Loki chose this battlefield apparently, as there was a ton of space, ample hiding places, and a ton of opportunities for him to use these abilities through his clones to catch Simo by surprise. However, a miscalculation had occurred in that strategy. The opponent's abilities far exceeded his expectations. Even that army of 3 gods was defeated with 1 blow. My own clone too, with 1 blow, says Loki. What the hell is this guy? I made a mistake. He thinks back to Hilda and says, that guy's a warrior. Hilda prepared to kill me. There was no way a clone would be able to kill him. Now that's a weird piece of dialogue because that clone is supposed to be as strong as Loki. Yet this dialogue implies that that clone is inferior to himself. So take that as you will. I will settle this with my own hands. Isn't that right, Hilda? We then get this epic shot of Simo. He looks like a hunting jaguar, puma, or whatever the case. Looks like a beast. He's breathing pretty heavy though, obviously we know he has internal damage. Loki says that guy will surely keep his eyes on my corpse until he ensures it has been erased completely and sent to Nifl. This very moment is my greatest chance of victory. The powerless fake's corpse will soon return to its original mist. I need to come up with a plan to ensure his death before that happens. Now, what should I do? I can't teleport to a dead clone. There's no consciousness connection. And right now, it's impossible for me to go there and get the ring back without being shot. I only have 4 copies left that I can create without the ring. What's the best strategy to defeat him with these remaining pieces? And then there's this montage of Loki like looking around. He's trying desperately to figure out what to do here. And it's just silence as Simo watches his corpse. Or the corpse of the clone. Then there's like a eureka moment for Loki. He resolves himself and says, Hilda, watch me. I'll also put my life on the line. Those pushed to their absolute limits sometimes can achieve unbelievable evolution in an instant, says the narrator. This moment we see all this mist envelop Loki and he starts to summon his last 4 remaining clones. This quote that I just mentioned applies to both humans and gods. And then the greatest trap of heaven's strongest trickster is activated. We then see Hercules emerge from what looks to be the position Loki was just at. He walks up to where Simo's position was. He walks up behind Simo out in the open. Simo immediately reacts, turns around, and the Hercules clone starts rushing towards Simo, goes to try to attack, but he doesn't get far. Heimdall starts talking. He's like, what? Hercules has appeared again. Loki is still alive. The crowd's like, but why? What's the meaning of this? Hilda and Buddha are both shocked. And Buddha says, oh boy. Like I said, Simo immediately turns around. He says the word perno, which means spleen. The narrator says from the instant he noticed the enemy, Simo was able to load, aim, and fire, and it all took no more than 0.5 seconds. He immediately shoots, and the narrator says the Godspeed bullet pierced right through the target's heart with precision. It shoots right through the Hercules clone. This was called the anti-god sniping technique, breath of the spirits. Obviously, this is shot number 3. As Simo says, the number 3. The clone falls down immediately as it was instantly taken out, and at that very instant, 2 other clones emerge behind Simo now. So Simo had completely turned around, so these other 2 clones have somehow flanked him, got back to where Simo has to turn around again. They appeared from behind the defenseless sniper. There's a Loki clone and there's a Thor clone. This is actually a pretty epic panel of the 2 of them. There's lightning coming off Mjolnir. Ares is hyped. Brunhilde is shocked. She can't even say the word what. And the crowd is saying, Lord Loki. Lord Loki, it's Loki who's supposed to be dead, says Heimdall. At last, that ominous blade has entered the range to reach Simo. Now, it's unclear if these 2 clones went and retrieved the ring. I can't actually tell if Loki got the ring again, at least this clone version. But I don't know if they were close enough to the other clone. We'll obviously have to see. That hasn't been explained just yet. So as these 2 clones rush towards Simo, Simo of course is forced to turn around again, and we see the Hercules clone is not yet dead. It actually says, right, that's right, the one who will kill you will be me, and it's transforming back into Loki. So it appears that the real Loki either implanted himself within a clone with the exterior of Hercules, or potentially he teleported into this clone at the last minute through the gateway. We don't know yet, but whatever the explanation, he is now in this position as Simo is supposed to be turning around to take out the other 2 clones. Could Simo have seen through this? It's very possible. Does this mean that Loki took actual damage here? Because if he was this clone, you know, he obviously got shot. Even if he teleported into it, he has to teleport into it before it's dead. So that means he should have taken some damage. How did he survive? Because this supposedly shot right through the heart. Is it because of the body proportions of Hercules and Loki don't match up? Or is it because he teleported in at the last second? All this will have to be explained to us, but Loki should be severely wounded here, and he's really staking everything on this last encounter. I do think that this last encounter is probably going to be the culminating moment of the fight, but you never know. Things might get drawn out with another backstory, or there could be heavy dialogue. We'll have to see how this all plays out. I still do believe Simo has to get a severe shot off that's going to be one of the organs that you truly cannot live without. What is your guys' prediction? That is the end of the chapter. Let me know in the comments below. Are you enjoying this fight? Who do you think is going to win? And I can't wait to get to the next month's chapter with you guys. I'll see you guys then. Peace.